is up, everyone? We're back August 6th. We're into August as we push towards NFL season here at Run Pure Sports. Back-to-back days on the show for me, covering for my guy, DC. He will be on the Friday show, I believe, instead with our guy, Stats, who's on both of these shows, Wednesday and Friday. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right. Yeah, we got a kind of a short slate, but it starts early, so we got a lot to kind of pack in there. We got some DraftKings pick six. We'll be doing that today. We've been crushing it on the show. Did you see JSU hit the pick six on MMA on the MMA show on Saturday?
Yeah, I was able to put that in. That was nice. Nice little hit. Yeah, the pick six has been good to us. Yeah, we're gonna do some. I've got the Saber Sim up here since only 5 games. We'll kind of walk through, kind of behind the scenes, what I'm doing on the show as Stats and I are talking, and then we'll show some of the pieces of MLB content since it is a shorter show. And like I said, as we're pushing towards NFL, use that code JBC 100K win, gets you a free week with any monthly package, or RPS 15 if you just want 15% off any package on the site. I think the NFL package and schedule for shows and content is coming out sometime this week, Stats. So I'm excited for that. We got some preseason games, I think, tomorrow through the weekend, just kind of getting us ready for the NFL season.
Yeah, and I've got the Boom Report coming out for NFL, which I'm pumped about. I've been back testing that, and I don't know. I think the thing I like most, obviously, it's got to win. It's got to be successful, but I like the fact that it does give you a better chance at winning and makes it really easy to build the lineups. Because I know you could sort of get it becomes mind-numbing, like looking at so much data over and over.
Yeah,
that you wind up making a case for like 10 different stacks by the time you're done, whether it's baseball or the NFL. So I kind of like having something that makes it really easy for me to see what the best plays are and build my lineup, whether I'm building like a single lineup or even a good way to filter out my pool for my 150 builds.
Yeah, it's a great tool for baseball. I've been using it kind of as a cross-check, right, for my main teams, especially when I'm trying to find a secondary stack that fits what I want to play with Stats. Like, it's a good double check. If you're only playing 2 or 3 guys on a team, you kind of want to make sure that they do have the upside to win. And that's been a great tool for me. I know it's helped a lot of our members win as well. So yeah, join us RPS 15 if you want any package. And then JBC 100K win is the code to get you a free week with any monthly package going into NFL. And again, all the NFL schedule and shows and content stuff, I think we'll be announcing at some point this week. So with that out of the way, let's get into the 5-game slate. We start off, like you said, a bit earlier than usual, 6:45 Eastern. I'm on Central Time. That's why it says 5:45 here. We get a Nats home game on the slate. They have not had many home games on the slate the entire year, Stats, because they start so early. Mm-hmm. The A's are in town. My sister actually went to this game. My family's in the D.C. area. She went last night, and she was texting me about the Shea Langoliers game. I'm not sure if you saw that since it was off the slate, but 3 home runs for Shea, 52 DK, as the A's just thrashed Mackenzie Gore, who has been really bad over the last couple of months. But tonight we've got a different matchup. The total's 9 here, and the pitching matchup is Jeffrey Springs up against Cade Cavalli, longtime prospect for the Nats. Made his debut in 2022. He was like their number 1 pitching prospect. Got hurt, has really struggled with injuries. Making his first start in 3 years here. He's been good in the minors, but I have some question marks as to how effective he is going to be in a major league rotation. Talk about the pitchers here. I have a bunch of interest in Springs. I want to see where you're at on him.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to be the only one. I think Springs is going to be pretty popular on this slate, which I think makes it super interesting because I do have him as my number 1 pitcher as well. But I do think it offers a little bit of a leverage play on a short slate like this. Like, if you're not going to play Springs, I think it's well worth getting in some Washington bats in your lineup and really just kind of full leveraging this game with your non-Springs lineups. Because I think, what we're talking about on Saber, I looked at it earlier. it's like 40-50% they're looking at, right, on Springs ownership. So I think it's a classic example. I mean, Springs a good pitcher. In this game, I mean, I'm looking at like a K per inning at 6,800. That's excellent. He's got one of the best walk rates on this slate. And obviously, we're not expecting a ton of runs here from Washington. But while I do think he is the best option, at least my model thinks so as well, I think it lends itself to maybe play some bats here, especially the bigger bats in that Washington lineup. Even if you play it as a secondary stack, like Abrams and Wood, I kind of like that. Certainly with 150 mix, and if I was playing 20 max, I'd want to get a couple of those in as well.
Yeah, I think the Nats are interesting here. I've got so on Sabre here, you can see the projected ownerships here on the right. Everyone under 10% on a 5-game slate. And if you look up on the simmed team totals, it's not like their team total is much lower than teams like the Brewers, the Braves, and the Snakes, who are going to get some ownership. So I think that's definitely interesting. Not a great bullpen behind Springs, too, if it goes poorly. They traded Mason Miller as well. On the other side, do you have any interest in Cavalli here? And then what do you think about A's bats? I think A's are kind of by far my favorite stack on the entire slate.
Yeah, they certainly shape up to be, if not the best, maybe the top 2 or 3 stacks, I think, on this entire slate. So I'm in agreement with you there. Cavalli don't have a ton of interest. The walk rate here is probably the worst on this entire slate. Decent with the strikeouts. You look in the prop market for Cavalli, it's lower than on his strikeouts, lower total than what we've got for Springs, and slightly more expensive, 4.5 strikeouts. For him in the prop market, with Springs at 5.5. That is juiced pretty heavily to the under, and 17.5 outs is that prop for Springs. So, I'm not going to have a lot in the way of Cavalli as far as ownership here, which partially it has a lot to do with the fact that I do like the the Athletic bats quite a bit. Kurtz, Langeliers, Rooker, and Bleday at 3,100, I think really fits in nicely for your 5-man stack. So I think a lot of people are going to go that route. I think you're going to get a lot of Springs with Atlanta. I keep saying Atlanta with the Athletics. I see the AT, and it just my what do you call it? My dyslexia just kicks in, and
right.
and I go right to Atlanta. But anyway, the Athletic bats here, I think, are going to be very popular with that Springs combo. So I think if even if you took, I think they fit. Yeah, maybe not that great here with Washington. We'd have to get some cheap pitching. I got to look at it a little closer. Although Josh Bell on the Washington side does help. So with Bell, and then you've got Bleday at the 3,100. I do think you can fit some of these more expensive bats in, and potentially, I haven't tried it yet, potentially make like a Washington with an A's stack, which I think is going to be extremely rare.
Yeah, I mean, the entire Nats lineup is free here outside of Abrams and Wood. We got Paul DeJong hitting third, 2,700. Prospect House hitting 6 for 3K. So there's some ways that you can go there. The A's, like I said, are my favorite stack. Hernandez has been hitting. Talked about him a week or two ago when he was 2K. He's only up to 2,800, third and short eligible. He's been raking, kind of like him as a salary saver within the stack here. Like you said, like these are big boy price tags. Langeliers, Kurtz, and Rooker. We're going to have some cheaper pitchers. We talked about playing Springs. There are a couple other pitchers, I think, that are cheap that are at least in play because it's a smaller slate. So I really like Hernandez there. I like Butler down in the order, priced up. No one's going to play him on a small slate. And I kind of like doing stuff like that on smaller slates, playing guys that are maybe a bit overpriced down in the order. Like if the A's crush here, he's getting 4 or 5 at bats anyways. So I like me some Larry Butler down there in the order. So it'll be a bunch of Springs for me here. No Cavalli, a bunch of A's, and then I do like your call on Nats. Do you like a full stack there, or are you just going to pick off one-offs or mini stacks here?
I really like the secondary stacks, but I'm not averse to taking some Nats full stacks, because as you went down that list, I mean, Adams, Young, Bell, and DeJong, I mean, really reasonable prices, beyond reasonable. They're actually very cheap prices.
Yep.
I think it's worth taking some stabs here with those Washington bats. And then even if you put them with the A's, or, we've got San Diego, it's going to be one of the more popular ones, maybe even Seattle. So there's some more expensive stacks that we could pair them with. And I just think it gets us different, and we're highly leveraged. If Washington does go off here, I mean, you're already going to knock out close to half the field on the spring side, and no one's going to have those Washington bats. So I think it sets us up. Again, I always say the same thing. There's no lock, but we're trying to play the game, and not necessarily always try to pick who we think is going to be the highest scorer on the slate.
Yep, agree with all that. All right, let's go to Boston. We got Michael Wacha, who's been pretty rock solid all season, going up against Dustin May, trade deadline acquisition for the Red Sox, making his first start for Boston. Looking at the prop market here on DraftKings, Dustin May over 3.5 Ks is minus 170. Wacha over 4.5 plus 105. We've got Red Sox as a minus 145 favorite. Totals sitting around 8.5 here. Pretty cheap tags on both pitchers here, but tough park and good lineups, at least the top of the lineups on both sides here. Do you like either of these arms?
I mean, I think they're both playable. They're kind of, for this slate, kind of middle of the road, because I've got them in my fourth and fifth best pitchers, so maybe slightly better than mid-level. So certainly in the mix. We just don't get a ton of strikeouts. I mean, you went over the prop market. It's not a ton of strikeouts for these guys, but we're not paying a whole lot either. Wacha is going to really be more of a control guy. And like I said, we're just not going to get the strikeouts. But on this slate, short slate, you never know. And we can, typically I like to at least have one cheaper, maybe sub 8 in that 8,500 or less pitcher. In this case, we've got two. I don't know how many lineups I'm going to have both of them. What do we have on as far as ownership here?
We're seeing 15-ish% on both these guys.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, so there won't be a lot of lineups with both, but I think certainly playing both is a possibility. I mean, with all that said, I think the better side of this game though is the Boston bats. I do like, and I think there'll be some decent ownership here on the Boston side. I like Story, Bregman, and Abreu the most. Abreu at 3,900, I think is a pretty good price for a guy with that kind of pop. But the Kansas City bats, I wouldn't turn away from them either. I like Witt's always going to be an option, but Pasquantino with Sal Perez and Garcia, those four options, and I think you could throw Yaz in there as well.
Yaz leading off tonight.
Yeah, I like that at 3,400. So I do like Kansas City. I like bats more so than I like the pitching. The pitchers will be in my mix for this one though, but you could add in Duran and Rafaela on the Boston side as well. So I think you can make some pretty good 5-man stacks here. Boston will be, I would assume, I haven't looked at the ownership, I would assume Boston will be a little bit higher owned here than the Kansas City side.
Yeah, I agree with you. On a larger slate, these guys would not be in my pool. Kind of interested to see if Boston saw something with Dustin May. He is a guy with a lot of talent. Might be a guy where a change of scenery helps him. Talented arms who have teams go and acquire them usually have a plan to tweak a few things. And May is starting with a pretty good toolbox here. So I'll be interested to see how he pitches. But that being said, so I'll have some May. I do prefer May over Wacha, like you said. But because of the volatility of May, I kind of like the Kansas City side. Like you said, Yaz, Witt, Pasquantino, Garcia's been great all season. And then Salvi's in there, catcher. I did want to note on the Boston side stats, we saw Roman Anthony get scratched on, I believe it was Monday. That was super frustrating. But he's back in there tonight. So basically the best lineup in there for Boston against a right-handed pitcher with Anthony, Duran, Abreu, all in there, left on right. So I'll have some May. I like the bats on both sides. I think the Royals are kind of sneaky against a volatile arm like Dustin May here, though. Any last words on this one?
No, I think that pretty much sums that game up.
All right, let's go to the Braves and the Brewers here. We've got Spencer Strider, who has been up and down of late against Jose Quintana, who just kind of chugs along, outperforms his peripherals every game. What do we got here? We got the Braves are minus 132 at DK, 8 total on this game. Strider, of course, with a nice strikeout prop over 6.5 is minus 140. Quintana, not a strikeout artist, over 3.5 is minus 140 here. What are your thoughts on Strider? Probably going to be 50% owned. Obviously, the K prop is the best on the slate. We've got 2 real studs on this slate, and then a bunch of guys just kind of on a very, very different tier below them. So talk about Strider here and how you have him rated versus George Kirby, who we're going to talk about later.
Yeah, so I've got Strider as my number 3 option. It's really close, though. I mean, they're kind of interchangeable, and he is a little bit cheaper than Kirby, so that could weigh into it. The one big advantage that he has here is his K per inning. So he's not only the highest K prop out there, but the highest K per inning when you factor in what the market is looking at for innings out of Strider, which the out market is 17.5 juice to the over for Strider. Mm-hmm. So I think the upside is always there. I think, for a guy like Strider, because of the strikeout potential, I would say his upside might be the best on the slate potentially. But on the whole here, I've got him as the third best in my model. So I'm going to have plenty of Strider in this one. And then on the other side, just Quintana is just not going to make the cut for me. I've got him as the worst option here on the entire slate. Just not enough strikeout potential for me at the price, considering some of the other pitchers we have. It's only 3.5 in his prop here for strikeouts with a 16.5 pitching out prop. So it's kind of where I'm going to land on pitching. As far as the hitting goes, I don't love either side of this game, quite honestly. It's not one that I'm going to be heavy on my stacks, but on a short slate, I do think there's some potential, especially on the Atlanta side. Murphy being the key here for me at 3,300 behind the dish. I like that price. Also like Ozuna at 3,600. The more expensive option of a Matt Olson 5,500 is fine as well. But I do like some of the cheaper options here. If you're going, I think this is a much riskier leverage play. We talked about the springs.
Yeah.
Like I like targeting high-owned pitchers who aren't as nearly talented. And, Strider, I think just a lot more talent here than Spring. So that's why I like that Washington as a leverage play. But, it's not like Strider's been invincible. They could potentially get to him. I'm not going to play a lot of Milwaukee. But I think if you want to focus on Milwaukee bats, you're going to want to look at Yelich and Sal Frelick with Vaughn and Siegler. I think Siegler at that 2,500 will help you out quite a bit on the price. I think those are your best options if you are looking potentially at just getting some leverage on Milwaukee. But I'm going to be very limited there. I'll have some Atlanta bats. But on the whole, this is going to be a pretty low-owned game for me, bats-wise.
Yeah, I think if you're going against Strider, it's power hunting. It's, one-offs or secondary stacks. I'm not going to 5-man against him. I do like everyone in the top 5 here. They get Sal Frelick back, who is out for a couple games. He's leading off tonight. Him, Contreras, Isaac Collins has been great, and they just won't raise his price. Stats have been playing this guy basically every slate. He hits in the heart of this order. This team's on fire. So I'm going to leave the 1, 2, and 3 mans. I'm going to take out a couple of the pinch hit risks here. But I do like that. And then, I'm not going to play Quintana because of the kept upside and the price is kind of elevated. But man, this is a pretty rough Atlanta lineup. Like you said, Albies and Murphy, I think, are the 2 best plays here. Ozuna hitting cleanup at 3,600 in play as well. I actually like the Brewers in this game, catching plus money on DraftKings, about plus 110-ish as a bet that I put in earlier. The Brewers have just been free money lately. They haven't been plus money much over the last couple weeks. And I don't think that the real-life discrepancy between the current version of Strider and what we're getting from Quintana and this Brewers bullpen is enough to not take the Brewers at plus money here. So I'll be on the Brewers. I see plus 108 right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. So I'll be riding with that. We got 2 games left. Let's go out to the West Coast. We had talked about George Kirby. He is starting tonight at home in Seattle. Elevated price tag because of the short slate, but he's at home against White Sox here. We all saw what Brian Wu did to this lineup last night. Went deep per usual for Brian Wu. 22 straight starts of 6+ innings for Brian Wu, just a machine. Going up against Jonathan Cannon, who is cheap here, but has been not great since coming back. And this new version of the Seattle lineup, after all the trades, looks very, very dangerous. Checking in on the sports book real quick. Mariners minus 270 in this spot, 7.5 total. And then the K props for the pitchers here. Kirby over 6.5 is plus 125 on DK, and Cannon over 4.5 plus 130. It'll probably take me off of Cannon entirely, but want to hear what you think here.
Yeah, so I mean, Kirby I've got as the number 2 option. I mentioned that earlier when we were talking about Strider. I think with Kirby here, I think his floor is a bit higher. So I really like Kirby if certainly in cash games, I think a better option than maybe Strider is. I think Strider might have the better upside, I think, potentially here, but I think Kirby's just a little bit of a safer play for me. And then on the other side, Cannon just won't make the cut. I mean, we're expecting the earned runs against him, expecting to be fairly high, and just not great control out of Cannon as well. 5,800. I don't necessarily know if you're going to need that kind of savings on a slate like this. So Cannon's going to be pretty limited. May make just a handful of lineups in the 150 build, just because of the short slate. I like to kind of mix in a few more of these pitchers. But yeah, no conviction really for me on Cannon. But Kirby, on the other hand, like I said, I don't know if you mentioned the props, but the one thing why I like Strider for the upside more is just that K prop. The Kirby prop's just 5.5. It is juiced to the over, but we are expecting from Kirby. Why I like his floor is we're just looking at more innings, more outs.
Over 17.5 is minus 200 on DK for outs.
Yeah, and you could get over some other books are 18.5, and that's juiced to the under. So it's kind of somewhere in that range, right around 18 out. They're looking for 6 innings basically out of him, which would be the highest on this slate, at least projected wise in the market. So I do like Kirby now. Again, Kirby's going to be one of those pitchers who's high owned. Is this a situation where we want to leverage it? I would say this is the number 3. This is the third of those big 3 pitchers as far as ownership goes, Springs with Strider and Kirby. I would say this is the third guy that I'd want to play bats against. So for me, I would play Washington bats, then Milwaukee bats, and then just really limited here in White Sox. I don't think I'm going to have any White Sox bats at all. Not a good ballpark. We're going to just not looking for enough home runs. That's really what you really like to see on a leverage. When you're trying to leverage against a pitcher who's going to be high owned, what's the potential for some home runs? Because that's where obviously we're going to score a lot of points. I just don't see the potential in this ballpark with this White Sox lineup. So I think I'm going to pass totally on White Sox bats, which means I'll probably be a little inflated on my ownership here for Kirby. But normally, again, we don't really like to target this for this ballpark for bats. But in a short slate like this, I think it's kind of tough to get off the Seattle bats. So Raleigh, Arozarena, Suarez, Naylor. I haven't seen any of those if that lineup has come out yet, but
we do have that here. I'll pull it up.
Do we have it now?
Yeah, is
Canzoni in there?
Canzone's hitting 7th.
Yeah. So that's really nice too at the 2,800. So yeah, you've got. I think the Seattle stacks not bad. We're going to pay up for a few of these guys, but I do think they'll fit in nicely, especially if you're going to play one of these odd kind of leverage stacks, maybe the that Washington stack or Milwaukee, something like that, and maybe get some cheaper bats as a secondary stack in there with it.
Yeah, the good thing about playing Seattle, especially after the trade deadline now, Stats, is it's going to come via power with this lineup, even in this park. And, we got a volatile arm in Cannon. I'm going to be over on Seattle in the spot. We talked about Springs. I like him. I will talk about Nestor. I'm going to see where you're at with him. But I kind of like the cheaper pitching on the slate. So I want to be playing these priced up guys that you're just not going to be able to afford if you play Kirby, if you play Strider. So that's kind of leaning me to more Seattle bats here. I really like the Seattle 5-mans up against Cannon on a short slate. They do have the the third highest team total on this entire slate. So really like everyone in this order besides Crawford and Young. I'll be playing the top 7 as much as possible. I'm with you on the White Sox fade. I'll probably keep Colson Montgomery in there. I mean, he's got 6 bombs in the last 10 games. He's been so good since they called him up. But yeah, I'm not stacking against Kirby in this park. I do really like Kirby. He's my number 1 pitcher on the slate just because of, like you said, the duration. And I think there's just more concerns about where Strider is as a pitcher right now, being a 2-pitch pitcher at this point in his career with the velocity down off of the injury. Also, Kirby's facing the White Sox at home. Strider's facing the team with the best record in baseball, who's been red hot in the Brewers. So I've got Kirby over Strider here, despite the K-prop discrepancy. Like if I had to pick one, I think I'm picking Kirby here as SP1. But yeah, I'm just going to be over on the Seattle bats as a whole. All right, let's go to the last game here. Interesting one to talk about. We've got 2 cheap pitchers here. Cortez making his return after Padres traded for him at the deadline, made a couple starts at the start of the season. He got hurt, has been making starts in the minor leagues, is fully stretched out, 21 and 23 batters faced in his last 2 minor league outings. Let's check DK Sportsbook here. We got 9.5 total. D-backs home underdogs plus 114 at DK. The props here, Cortez over 4.5 Ks is plus 125. And DeSclafani, he's been super limited pitch count wise, over 3.5 is plus 120. He is not in play. I do want your thoughts on Cortez here, though. Has looked really good in the minors. It's a cheap tag for him. This Arizona lineup, since they traded everyone at the deadline, we actually just got that lineup in. Outside the top 3-4 guys is super, super weak. Like the 5 through 9, arguably the worst in the majors.
Yeah, it is. It is definitely a weak lineup. I'm looking at the. Well, it's kind of a tale of 2 lineups, right? So I still think they've got some good bats in that lineup. It's just when you get to the bottom, makes it tough, a little bit more difficult for the 5-man stacks. You're not expecting that lineup to really turn over as much, but still good pop. With Marte, a lot of pop, and Carroll, of course, could do a lot of things. Some pop, obviously a lot of speed. Gurriel. So those guys I still like. But let me talk about the pitchers, because I know you kind of like Cortez from what I'm hearing. Maybe not so much DeSclafani, but I definitely don't like DeSclafani at all. It's my worst, just one of the worst K pitchers here on the slate. I think the problem you're going to have with both these guys, just not the K props here just aren't all that great. But I see what you're saying here. Maybe taking a shot on Cortez. Maybe the numbers just not as good as his potential could be. I'm a little worried about just him, how deep he's going to go. I think both of these pitchers really projected to get less than 5 innings in this game, so that's a big red flag for me. You look at Cortez pitching outs; it's just 14.5. It is juiced to the over, but that's a really low total here for outs. Like I said, not even getting through 5 innings. Which is 3.5 Ks, and that is juiced to the over as well. So I'm going to be very limited on Cortez. I think DeSclafani won't have any at all. So just maybe a sprinkle of Cortez for me.
Yeah, this is just kind of a spot where I think the props are pretty conservative. We've seen Sears and Yu both get roughed up pretty early in the last 2 games. They've used a ton of bullpen. Cortez has been stretched out fully in the minor leagues. I kind of think that if he's pitching well, he gets 5-6 innings here. And to be honest, on a full slate, I would not be considering a guy like this. But I want a second cheaper pitcher, right? And I want some pivots to Springs here. I'm willing to at least take some chances on Nestor. He's not my favorite arm by any stretch. But I am going to have him in the pool here. I just want to keep attacking this Snakes lineup. Our handedness on the chart shows just how pathetic they've been since the deadline against left-handed pitching. 28th in weighted runs created plus, 27th in ISO. That's something that I think is going to continue. And the back half of this lineup, there's just going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of strikeouts in this Locklear, Alexander, McCann, Thomas, Jorge Barosa moving forward. So I'm going to keep basically streaming cheap pitchers against the Diamondbacks moving forward. Not my favorite spot, but he is going to be in the pool. Let's talk about the other side, the Padres bats. They've been pretty popular all week, haven't really done anything, but they do get DeSclafani and a bad Snakes bullpen here. Where are you on the Padres bats?
Yeah, I like the bats on the Padres quite a bit. I always like this ballpark. And one name that kind of jumps out, Laureano, if I don't think we have that lineup yet, but at 3,600, really fits nicely for me in this line. I know he's batting down a little bit, but outside of the big names, the Machado and Tatis that we're paying up for, that's probably the one of my favorite plays to kind of fit in there. It's not my favorite stack on the whole, but I definitely think the San Diego stacks are in play. They're probably, if we're looking at, we have what's the ownership projections? I'm just guessing. Yeah, see that? I think that ownership. I think the ownerships on the San Diego bats might be a little more inflated than what they should be. I know they are the highest projected team total on the slate. But for me, I think with when I'm kind of crunching the numbers with the home run potential for this team, even though the team total is the highest, I think the ownership is going to be slightly inflated as to what their ownership should be. So I would prefer to get onto maybe the Athletic bats or Seattle bats and get underneath the market here on San Diego bats.
Yeah, I was going to say the exact same thing. I like the A's way more than this Padres team, especially at the price tags. I want to pay up to attack Cavalli making his first start in 3 years with just a horrendous Nats bullpen that's been really battered. I don't mind the Padres. There's just a real lack of power in this lineup. Someone in our Discord earlier was saying Tatis has got 4 home runs since Memorial Day. That's not something that we thought we were going to be saying. Yeah, over last month, 24th in ISO in the split against right-handed pitching. So not a ton of pop. The trades at the deadline will help. Adding O'Hearn and Laureano. We need this ownership to update because O'Hearn at 5%, probably one of the better plays in this lineup if you are playing Padres. So I will have some because I'm playing 20 and the team total is good, but I think they're at least third for me. I think I kind of like the Royals more too. Actually, both sides of that Boston game more than the Padres here. So I think they're fifth. They're fifth in line for me. It's going to be A's, Seattle, both sides of that Boston game, and then the Padres for me. Yes, so that's all 5 games. We do have the early lock. Wanted to bring back up that we're going into NFL season here. JBC 100K win gets you a free week with any monthly package. If you don't want to do that, RPS 15 gets you 15% off any package on the site. Like I said, the NFL stuff, I believe we'll be announcing this week. Wanted to go through just real quick a couple of the pieces of content on the site just to kind of show you guys a bit.
I got a question for you first, though, Steve. Do you since we have a little bit of time with this, who are the big pinch hit? I know you're pretty good with the pinch hit risk stuff.
Yeah.
Like what from some of these teams that from the teams that maybe people are going to be targeting, any big pinch hit risk on some of these bigger stacks today?
Well, let's just go through them. Oakland here, Urshela and Schumann have some risk there, but not a ton. The Nats, Adams probably gets the full game. They're probably give him the entire game here. Hassel and Young have some risk, but not a ton. The Royals bottom of the order always has risk. We see Rave get pulled a ton. Isbell, they like his defense, so he'll stay in at some points. Adam Frazier has some risk there. So 6, 8, 9 have some risk for the Royals. Boston, they'll pull Abreu at times if a lefty comes in for Rob Refsnyder, either him or Yoshida. I think if they bring in a lefty to face those two, at least one of those guys will get pulled. They pulled Yoshida yesterday for Rafaela, actually. The Brewers, you mentioned Siegler. He's got the most pinch hit risk here. He is super cheap, though, so I don't mind him. Him and Perkins are the two big ones for the Brewers who get pulled. The Braves are kind of out of bodies, so I think they're just probably going to ride with someone or with this lineup. Nick Allen gets pulled from time to time because he's got 0 stick. The White Sox weren't really concerned about because we're not playing them here. I'll probably keep Robert and Montgomery in my pool, just the power. Seattle, Cole Young gets pulled at times. Canzone has some pitch hit risk, but he's got so much power that I don't mind. I'm usually more concerned stats about the pinch hit guys when they're going to be super owned, right? Like a guy at the top of the order who we know is coming out. A lot of teams will do that. We don't really have that many teams on this slate that do that. If you're playing the early slate, Detroit's a good example of that. Guys like Colt Keith and Kerry Carpenter will not face any left-handed pitching. So Padres, Fermin will get pulled if it's a big spot. Cronenworth has some risk. But for the most part, the top 6 in these orders, pretty solid. Have no idea what Arizona is going to do with the back half of their lineup. I think they have just kind of punted and they just want to see the young guys play. So Locklear was obviously the big return in the Suarez trade. They're going to give him a ton of runway. So, it's not as bad as it usually is as far as pinch hit risk for this slate. I think the biggest risks on the entire slate are guys like Siegler, and then the bottom of the order guys on the A's, that 8-9 spot.
Yeah, it looks pretty good. So I don't think we have too much to worry about. I don't have any weather to really worry about tonight either, which is good.
Yeah, that's nice. So before I just show this real quick, let's do a quick recap, and then we'll do a dong draft as well. Let's start with you. Most important pitchers on this slate. We only have 5 games. Let's go with your preferred guy up top, and then your favorite cheaper option.
I think Kirby's going to be my top guy here up on the top. Springs is obviously, I mentioned, my number one option here on the slate, but I think with his ownership, I'm going to probably wind up hoping that Springs gets lit up. So I'm going to probably be underneath the market here, which means I'm down to like either Waka or May, and I think Waka is going to wind up being a pretty big leverage for me. So we get a good performance out of Waka. I think that'll help me quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm with you on Kirby up top. I've got a slight lean Kirby over Strider, just so much safer of a play in my eyes. I'm on Springs like everyone else is. I talked about liking Nestor a bit. He's a better pitcher than the guys around him here, and gets a really good matchup. So I think Nestor's props could be light just because, the books have some uncertainty as to what the Padres are going to do with him. So I'll go with tentatively with Nestor Cortez, who's making his first start since April, as my favorite guy down low outside of Springs. It could go bad, but it's a small slate. I want to play the big bats, especially on the A's and the Mariners, and got to take some risks to do that here, Stats. So that's kind of where I'll be going. Let's talk about stacks real quick. I know you said that you like the A's here. Who are your top 2 stacks, and then what's your contrarian look?
Yeah, I think my favorite 2 stacks are going to be Seattle and the A's, and I'm going to go with Washington as that contrarian stack. I like that today.
Yeah, I'm with you on the A's and the Mariners. I'm going to play around and see if I can't fit both in the same lineup. My contrarian stack is going to be the Royals against just a super volatile arm in Dustin May. in a park that I don't think is going to suit him super well long term with his style of pitching. So I love that Yaz is leading off here. You play a 1-2-3, 4-5, something like that. Casey Mini against Dustin May. I really like that. I think their team total is a bit light in this spot against May. Let's do a quick dong draft here. We've got a couple minutes.
We got to do a pick. We got to do a DraftKings pick 6 because we've been on fire as a RPS on the whole with these. I had 5 out of 6. Well, with Rubio, I got to give Rubio more credit than me. His 3 picks went 1, and I went 2 out of 3 on our NASCAR picks on the Sunday NASCAR show. So we've got a little bit of a little hot streak going on in the DraftKings pick 6. So I don't know if you looked at that at all, but we'll do some of those before the show ends. But I'm happy to start with the dongs if you like.
Yeah, let's do the dongs while I pull up the pick 6 on my phone here. I'll let you go first on the dong draft.
All right, dong draft, man. I can't get these 3,500s or less, and I'm just not going to get off it. I'm not going to get off it now because I've been doing it all year, and I really like a couple today. So I'm going to go with Sean Murphy here as my number 1 pick, 3,300. I'll go with if you don't know the rules, we play a little game here. So the dongs, if they're 3,500 or less, we get 1.5x on it, and it has not worked well for me so far this year. But we'll see. We'll see if we could get a couple of cheapies in here today.
They're tough to hit. I'm going to go with the guy that you mentioned earlier, Dom Canzone from Seattle, big time power. Do get the 1.5x if he goes yard here, and then. Going to run it back with another cheap guy on the A's. Mentioned him earlier. Starting to come around a bit as a cheap guy. I'll leave you Blade. I'm going to go with Daryl Hernandez here as my 1.5x.
Yeah, man, I just assumed you were going Blade because I was going Blade at the 3,100. So I'm gonna take it. I appreciate you leaving that for me. And then give me Cal Raleigh. Let me go with the big gun here. I need a home run. So
gonna get on the board.
I gotta go with the guy who's a lock to hit one, right?
All right. Well, I will go with a big stick too, and I'll go with Nick Kurtz hitting second here. 6,100 for the A's. Fully deserved price tag. He's been so good. All right, let's put together a little pick 6. I don't have it on my screen here, but I'm doing it on my phone, and I will tweet it after the show.
I'll give you my first option.
Yeah,
that I like here. So I'll tell you the way I play the pick 6s. So and I'm affiliated with the Sharp app as well, and we have a feature in there, and we do offer it here at Run Pure Sports as well if you look in the betting section. But we've got a feature for the DraftKings pick 6, and it looks at all the other markets, all the other and it compares it to what the price is on DraftKings pick 6. And the best price in baseball tonight is George Kirby's strikeouts over 5.5 on pick 6. It's 6.5 at a lot of books. So I kind of like that one over the 5.5 for Kirby on K's for our first pick 6 option.
I think that's a promo that they're doing.
Is that a promo? Oh,
look, it's crossed out at 6.5, and you got the promo.
Oh, there you go.
Over 5.5.
That's what it is. So I didn't see it. I was just looking at our app, and I'm like,
we'll take the freebie though.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's why we're getting such high odds on that one to hit. But if they're offering that as a promo, we're going to take it then.
Yep.
And we'll put it in our mix.
I'm going to stick with a guy that I just picked to hit a dong. We're going to go Nick Kurtz over 1.5 bases.
Okay. A lot of extra hits. You want to go back to back?
No, you go ahead. I'm still
I will go
around.
Give me a team that you like here today. I'm going to go with Sal Perez. I'll take his hits, runs, and RBIs over 1.5.
All right, add him in. Sal Perez. I'll stick in that market. Stick in that market and stick with the A's. Guy that we all love at RPS, Larry Butler, who I talked about earlier, who I think is a really good play. If this ownership holds, I'm playing the cheaper pitchers. We got a low-owned Larry Butler, hits plus runs plus RBIs over 1.5.
All right, I am going to I'm going to take another one of these stacks that we like, but I'm just going to take it for singles. So I'm going to take Julio Rodriguez. I'm going to take his singles to get one single, so over a half singles tonight from Julio Rodriguez. I'm looking for a lot of at bats from him in that game. We'll get some opportunities for that.
Really having me dig deep in this app to find this. All right, I got that. I want an under here. I'm going to go to pitcher outs. I'm going to go Jonathan Cannon under 15.5 outs here. He's going to be a 5 and fly guy stats after he gives up a bunch of runs to the Mariners tonight. Jonathan Cannon under 5.5 or under 15.5 outs. I believe that's 6 for us.
That is 6.
So we've got, just to recap, the George Kirby promo over 5.5 Ks.
I'm taking it, man. Hey, if they're offering it, I'm taking it.
Well, you can't take the under on that. We got, all right, so Kirby over 5.5 Ks, Kurtz over 1.5 bases from the A's, Salvi Perez over 1.5 HRR, which is hits, runs, and RBIs. Larry Butler of the A's, same thing, over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. Julio Rodriguez over half a single. And then we had to get an under in there stats. Jonathan Cannon under 15.5 outs.
I like that.
We're going to put that in.
Looks pretty easy. What are we winning on that? What's the
100 wins, 2,100 plus, it says.
Okay.
21x is
so that's
our
minimum. Minimum 21x on that. All right.
Yep. So that is in. Submitted that. All right. Any last words here on the slate? We did about an hour. We got less than an hour till lock.
No, I think I think this is an interesting. I like this kind of a slate because I do think it plays well into how we like to do things. Like I said, I think we're going to have. I just don't trust some of the real high ownership here in pitching. So I think at least one of these leverage stacks comes in for somebody. We'll post. We just had a 20K winner plus a entry into the live final, I think, too, in the RPS Discord. I saw it like 2 days ago. So
Locks.
Yeah, Locks crushed it. So that was nice. I got a funny feeling we're going to hit one here on this slate. This is the kind of slate for me that I like the way it sets up.
Yeah, Jeff was talking about the NFL packages. I think
I just saw something in the back channels here, and I haven't looked at it yet. Like the pricing is going to be really good here for the NFL packages. I didn't look at it closely yet, but I think you guys are going to be excited. And I believe if you sign up here, the package should be up in the next day or so. If you sign up, you're basically going to get the entire preseason for free. So
awesome. Yeah. So we should be announcing something soon, Jeff. Keep an eye on the RPS Twitter for that. I'm sure that will be tweeted out by the account, by Big T, by all of the big RPS guys. So thanks for hanging out, everyone. We did some cool stuff with Saber. I think we're going to do that more moving forward. Stats, just kind of poking through, looking at the lineups, looking at the ownerships. So yeah, I will see you guys next week. You'll see stats on Friday. Are you on tomorrow, or is it Wednesday and Friday for you?
I think it's just Wednesday and Friday for me, but it's possible. I kind of got away with I switched with JT last week and kind of got away with the Thursday, only 3 games on.
Oh yeah, the 3 gamer.
So,
yeah.
So I'm gonna either have to do a show for him or some other favor that I don't want to talk about. So.
And yeah, Coors was not on the slate, but Austin Nola, the backup catcher, is currently pitching for the Rockies. So things are going well still for the Rockies out in Coors. All right, for stats, I'm Steve. That was fun. We'll see you guys next time.